There is a kind of quiet exhaustion that does not come from lack of sleep or working too many hours. It is the kind of exhaustion that comes from being deeply in tune with others. If you are someone who feels the emotions of those around you almost as if they were your own, you already know this feeling well. It is the heaviness of carrying not just your own experiences, but the unspoken weight of everyone you encounter. Maybe you've noticed how, after spending time in a crowded room, you leave feeling drained, even if nothing outwardly stressful happened. Or how, after listening to someone share what they are going through, you carry those feelings with you long after the conversation has ended. It can feel as though you are a sponge absorbing emotions, moods, and energies that you never asked to hold. And even when you try to shake it off, the residue lingers. This experience is not weakness. It is not oversensitivity. It is a reflection of your capacity to feel deeply and connect on a level that many others do not. Being sensitive in this way is not a flaw. It is a form of strength. It allows you to notice subtleties, to respond with compassion, to understand what others cannot always put into words. But when you do not yet know how to protect your own energy, that strength can leave you feeling depleted. So often, empaths grow up believing that their sensitivity is something to hide or tone down. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive, too emotional, or that you care too much. Over time, you may have started to wonder if something was wrong with you. But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. You simply process the world differently. You are wired to notice what others overlook. You are open to currents that many people move past without sensing. The challenge is that in a world that often celebrates toughness and independence, your openness can feel like vulnerability. You may find yourself giving more than you receive. You may struggle to say no, even when you are already exhausted. You may carry other people's burdens so instinctively that you forget to set them down. And little by little, without meaning to, you lose touch with your own needs. The result is that quiet weight, that fatigue that is hard to explain to others. It is not about being tired from doing too much. It is about being tired from feeling too much. It is about holding layers of emotion that are not entirely yours. It is about the way your heart stays open, even when it aches from the load. But here's the gentle truth. Your sensitivity is not the problem. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to care for it. Nobody told you that it's okay to protect your energy, that it's okay to create space, that it's okay to honor your limits. Empathy is a gift, but it is not meant to leave you empty. It is meant to connect you, to deepen your experience of life, to bring light to others in ways only you can, but only if you also know how to refill yourself along the way. In this conversation, we're going to explore why empaths so often feel drained by others. We will look at what is really happening when you absorb more than you can hold. We will reflect on the hidden costs of always carrying too much. And most importantly, we will talk about gentle, practical ways to protect your energy without closing your heart. Because you deserve to feel steady and grounded even while being deeply sensitive. You deserve to move through life without constantly feeling depleted. You deserve to embrace your sensitivity as a strength, while also learning how to live lightly within it. And that begins with understanding what is happening beneath the surface and how to care for yourself in the middle of it. Chapter 1. What it means to be deeply sensitive. To understand why empaths often feel so drained, we first need to reflect on what it really means to be deeply sensitive. Sensitivity is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word and think it means fragile, overly emotional, or unable to cope with life's challenges. But in truth, sensitivity is about awareness. It is about the ability to notice what others do not. It is about being finely tuned to the emotional undercurrents around you. For an empath, the experience of sensitivity goes beyond simply caring for others. It is not just noticing when someone seems upset. It is feeling that upset in your own body. It is hearing the tone of someone's voice and sensing the emotions that lie beneath the words. It is walking into a room and immediately picking up on the atmosphere, whether it feels tense, joyful, heavy, or light. It is carrying an invisible radar that is always scanning, always receiving, always tuned in to the emotional landscape. This heightened awareness is a gift in many ways. It allows you to connect with people deeply. It gives you the capacity to offer comfort in moments when words are not enough. It helps you understand perspectives that others might overlook. People often feel safe around empaths because they sense that they will be heard and understood without judgment. But what makes this gift powerful is also what makes it overwhelming. Because when you are deeply sensitive, there are no off switches. You do not just notice emotions. You absorb them. You do not just observe energy. You carry it. And when that happens day after day without any practice of releasing or protecting your own space, you begin to feel drained. It is like standing under a waterfall without an umbrella. At first, it feels refreshing, even invigorating. But over time, the constant downpour leaves you soaked and shivering, unsure how to dry yourself off. That is the experience of living as an empath without boundaries. Every emotion, every tension, every heaviness that belongs to someone else finds its way onto your shoulders. And before long, you cannot tell what is yours and what is not. Being deeply sensitive also means that small things can feel very big. A passing comment, a subtle shift in someone's mood, an unspoken tension in the air. All of these land with greater weight. What others might dismiss as nothing can linger in your heart for hours or even days. And while this sensitivity helps you see the world with nuance and care, it can also make everyday experiences more exhausting than most people realize. It is important to remember, though, that this depth of sensitivity is not weakness. It is strength expressed differently. Where others may move through life quickly, you move with attentiveness. Where others may overlook details, you catch the subtleties. Where others may brush past emotion, you sit with it, feel it, and hold it. That is not fragility. That is depth. The challenge comes when you forget to balance this gift with care for yourself. Without balance, sensitivity can feel like being pulled in every direction at once. Without boundaries, your compassion becomes a constant drain instead of a sustainable source of connection. Without awareness of your own limits, you may find yourself saying yes when you need to say no, listening when you need quiet, carrying when you need to set something down. To be deeply sensitive is to live with your heart open, but an open heart still needs protection. It still needs rest. It still needs time to recharge, because only then can sensitivity remain the gift it truly is, something that allows you to connect deeply with others without losing connection to yourself. So, if you have ever wondered why you feel tired after being around others, or why you sometimes carry emotions that do not belong to you, know this. It is not because you are weak. It is because you are deeply sensitive. And with that sensitivity comes both great strength and great responsibility to care for yourself as much as you care for others. And that understanding is the first step toward protecting your energy. Chapter 2. Why empaths feel so drained. If you have ever asked yourself, why do I feel so exhausted after spending time with people? You're not alone. For empaths, this experience is not just common, it is almost inevitable without awareness and care. To understand why, we need to look at what is really happening when you interact with others and why it can leave you feeling so depleted. At the heart of it is this: empaths often absorb emotions that do not belong to them. Imagine for a moment that emotions are like colors swirling in the air. Most people can see the colors, recognize them, and then move on. But empaths do not just see the colors, they breathe them in. They carry them inside as if they were their own. If someone near you is anxious, you may begin to feel restless without knowing why. If someone is upset, you may carry a heaviness in your chest long after the conversation ends. If someone is joyful, you might feel uplifted, but even that can be overwhelming in its intensity. This constant exchange creates an invisible weight. Your system is not just processing your own experiences, it is also processing everyone else's. And unlike physical tasks, which can be measured and managed, emotional absorption has no obvious limit. There is no clear signal that tells you when you have taken on too much. Instead, you just notice that you are suddenly tired, drained, or emotionally foggy. Another reason empaths feel so drained is the tendency to give without boundaries. Because you're so attuned to what others are feeling, you may instinctively try to fix, comfort, or carry what they're going through. You may feel a responsibility to make things easier for them, even at your own expense. You might find yourself listening for hours, offering support, or stepping in to help before anyone even asks. And while these acts come from genuine care, they can slowly deplete your own reserves. It is also worth noting that empaths are often highly observant. You do not just hear what people say. You notice the tone of their voice, the hesitation in their words, the subtle expressions on their face, the shift in their body language. You are constantly taking in information that others may not even be aware they are giving off. And while this ability helps you understand others deeply, it also means your mind and body are working overtime, processing far more than the average person. This constant over-awareness is like running multiple programs on a computer at once. Eventually, the system slows down, not because it is broken, but because it is overloaded. The same happens with empaths. You're not failing. You're simply carrying too many emotional downloads at once. There is also another layer. Many empaths struggle with distinguishing where their feelings end and someone else's begin. You may find yourself asking, do I actually feel this way, or am I just picking it up from someone else? Without clarity, the emotions blend together, and you end up feeling weighed down by feelings that were never yours to carry. That confusion is draining in itself because you're constantly sorting through an emotional fog, trying to separate what belongs to you from what does not. And finally, empaths often carry an unspoken belief that their sensitivity requires them to always be available. That if someone needs them, they should give. That if someone is hurting, they should listen. That if someone is struggling, they should step in. But the truth is, constantly putting others first is one of the fastest ways to become drained. Energy has limits, and when you give without replenishing, you eventually run on empty. So why do empaths feel so drained? Because they are absorbing emotions without realizing it. Because they give without boundaries. Because they process more information than others. Because they blur the line between self and other. And because they often neglect their own needs while tending to everyone else's. Understanding this is not about blame. It is about awareness. Because once you can see clearly why the exhaustion happens, you can begin to take steps to protect your energy. You can learn that it is not selfish to pause, to step back, or to create space for yourself. It is necessary. Because your sensitivity is not meant to drain you. It is meant to guide you, but only when it is balanced with care for yourself. Chapter 3. The hidden costs of carrying too much. When you are an empath, carrying the weight of others can feel so natural that you may not even notice you're doing it. Someone shares their worries with you, and without realizing it, those worries take up space inside you. You sense someone's sadness, and you hold it gently as if it were your responsibility to keep it safe. You step into a room where the tension is high, and it settles into your body before you have time to protect yourself. At first, this might not seem like a big deal. After all, carrying is what you do best. But over time, the cost of carrying so much begins to reveal itself. One of the first costs is emotional exhaustion. When you are constantly carrying the emotions of others, you're never fully at rest. Even when you are alone, you may find your mind replaying conversations, analyzing what someone said, or worrying about how they are feeling. Your nervous system does not get a chance to reset. Instead of experiencing calm, you live in a state of emotional alertness, always ready to notice, to respond, to hold. And that constant readiness drains your inner reserves. Another hidden cost is the loss of clarity. When you hold so many emotions that are not your own, it becomes difficult to distinguish your feelings from someone else's. You might wake up feeling heavy and not understand why. You might feel anxious without any clear reason. You might even make decisions based on emotions that do not belong to you. Slowly, your sense of self gets blurred, and you lose touch with what you truly need or want. That confusion can leave you feeling ungrounded, as though you are moving through life on shaky ground. There is also a physical cost. Emotional weight does not just stay in the mind, it settles into the body. For many empaths, this shows up as fatigue, headaches, muscle tension, or even a weakened immune system. You might notice that you feel physically tired after social interactions, or that your body feels heavy after being in emotionally charged environments. This is not imagined. It is your body responding to the invisible load you're carrying. And perhaps one of the deepest costs is neglecting your own needs. When you are so focused on carrying others, you often forget to check in with yourself. Your own feelings get pushed aside. Your own rest gets delayed. Your own voice becomes quieter under the noise of everyone else's. Over time, this neglect creates an emptiness inside you, a sense that you are giving endlessly, but rarely receiving what you need in return. This pattern also creates a hidden cycle of disconnection. The more you carry for others, the less energy you have left for yourself. The less energy you have for yourself, the more unbalanced you feel. And the more unbalanced you feel, the harder it becomes to set boundaries or step back. So you continue carrying, hoping it will ease, but it only deepens the drain. And here is perhaps the most difficult truth. Carrying too much robs you of joy. Because when you are weighed down by what is not yours, it becomes harder to fully experience lightness, creativity, and freedom. You may still find moments of happiness, but they are dulled by the constant heaviness you are holding. Life begins to feel like something you are surviving rather than something you are fully living. None of this happens because you are weak. It happens because you care so deeply that you forget to care for yourself. It happens because your empathy is boundless, but your energy is not. And if you do not recognize the costs, you continue caring until the weight becomes unbearable. The good news is that awareness is the first step toward change. Once you can name the hidden costs, you can begin to choose differently. You can begin to ask yourself, what am I carrying right now that does not belong to me? You can begin to notice how your body feels after certain interactions. You can begin to prioritize your own needs not as an act of selfishness, but as an act of balance. Because the truth is, you cannot show up fully for others if you are constantly drained. Protecting your energy is not about giving less. It is about giving in a way that is sustainable. It is about releasing what is not yours so that you can live with more clarity, more lightness, and more presence. And that begins with understanding the role of boundaries, which we will explore next. Chapter 4. The importance of boundaries. For many empaths, the word boundaries can feel uncomfortable. It might sound like a wall, something that shuts people out, something that makes you less available or less kind. But in truth, boundaries are not about closing your heart. They are about keeping your heart safe enough so that it can stay open. Boundaries are not about withholding love or compassion. They are about creating space where your love and compassion can thrive without leaving you drained. Think of boundaries as the gentle edges of a garden. A garden needs sunlight, water, and open space to grow, but it also needs a fence to protect it. Without that fence, the plants may get trampled, the soil may be stripped away, and the beauty that was meant to flourish may not survive. The fence does not mean no one can enter. It simply means they must enter respectfully, with care. In the same way, your energy, your sensitivity, and your capacity to care need healthy edges. Without them, you give endlessly until there is nothing left to give. For empaths, the difficulty with boundaries often comes from the desire to be available. You may feel guilty saying no. You may worry that stepping back will hurt someone. You may even believe that if you truly care, you should always be open, always be ready, always be giving. But the truth is, love without boundaries is not sustainable. Compassion without balance eventually burns out. And when you burn out, you're not able to be present for anyone, not even yourself. Boundaries do not make you less caring. They make your caring more intentional. They allow you to choose where your energy goes instead of scattering it everywhere. They help you separate what belongs to you from what belongs to others. And most importantly, they remind you that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. One of the most powerful shifts an empath can make is to see boundaries not as barriers, but as bridges. A bridge allows connection, but it also has structure. It carries weight without collapsing. It allows movement back and forth, but it does not dissolve under pressure. In the same way, your boundaries allow for connection that is strong, balanced, and respectful rather than draining or one-sided. Setting boundaries can begin with something as simple as giving yourself permission to pause. If a conversation feels heavy, you can say, "I need a moment to step away." If someone asks for your time when you are already exhausted, you can say, I can't right now, but I care about you. If you sense that someone's emotions are overwhelming you, you can choose not to absorb them. These choices may feel difficult at first, but they are acts of respect. Respect for yourself and for the relationship. At the heart of it all, being an empath is not about carrying the world on your shoulders. It is about learning how to honor your sensitivity while still protecting your energy. When you understand what drains you, when you recognize the hidden costs of carrying too much, and when you embrace the power of boundaries, you begin to live more lightly. You begin to see that your sensitivity is not a burden. It is a gift that shines brightest when you also care for yourself.